Hello everyone. Today's episode, is it an episode? Today's musing, today's chat on Not Another Nutrition Podcast is nothing to do with nutrition other than the fact that it does talk about, or this conversation has come up in my mind because of something to do with free school meals. So that's where the nutrition comes from. But this is really just a chat. Partly I saw Kimberly, I can't remember her name, Food Psych on Instagram, talking about these free school meals. And I am going to share her post on my story. And it's just funny because I'm obviously a relatively jokey person. I joke around. I like that's what she said jokes. I like innuendos. I like dark humor. I make jokes that make social justice warriors. And that's become a dirty word to me personally. It's not necessarily meant that way, but the way I've ended up using it is a little bit how some people see the word feminist. Oh, all feminists are men haters, which isn't the case. And I obviously use this term feminazis, which offends some people, but at least to make the distinction of basically people who are ruining it for everyone else. I've spoken before about there's nothing inherently wrong about doing the keto diet, but people who are misleading people and saying it's the only way and saying that it's special in some way other than a potential slightly lowering of calorie intake because people feel less hungry, or simply because they cut out a huge part of their diet and eat less calories. Like fat loss is happening as a result of calories. People who are misleading and lying and profiting are ketards. And vegans who are vegan for their personal reasons, for moral, ethical decisions, understanding that morality is an individual thing, like your morals are not someone else's. What you deem to be the way you should live or a good way to live is not, again, you can't tell other people how to live their lives. I talked a lot on my tour about how a lot of people in the health and fitness industry think that choosing health is the right and only way to do things, and that you must pick health and you must pick exercise, and if you don't, then you aren't enlightened. It becomes almost this religious thing of the gym is their religion, and if you don't do it, then you need to sort your life out, and one day you might wake up. And it's not the case, and I think I've certainly been there. 100% if you had asked me in my early 20s whether health, people should be being healthy. And anyway, it's going a bit off topic, but it's all an interesting discussion, isn't it? On top of nutrition, I created MNU, or the Martin McDonald 6 facets of health and how we look at them holistically from a nutrition practitioner's point of view. And actually, I think creating that presentation, I put so much time and effort, blood, sweat and tears, love went into that lecture that I came out a different person on the other side, if I'm honest. The crux of this conversation is just because someone is laughy and jokey and is willing to take the mick and is easygoing and doesn't take life too seriously, like me, doesn't mean they can't care about really, really important issues. And you know what? If you're listening to this, I've been thinking about this more and more. This is the first time I've said this publicly, about how I would like to be a positive role model for younger people. Because I know there's so many 13-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds who are like me, and you don't necessarily realize your full impact in the world and on other people. And you're like, you're talking about dieting and having a six-pack. The way you talk about girls. I was going to do a post, I might still do this, just like a quote, like females, stop letting what teenage boys said to you affect the way you act in your 20s, 30s, 40s and beyond. And that's not a criticism of the females, it's the fact that I still see it happening. And a lot of the kind of things I see my friends, females in the industry and just on social media posting about, it's like, I've had to break these chains, or I was living up to expectations that I shouldn't. I should be myself, men this, men that. And actually it's not, it's boys. It was what was said to them in their teenage years, or just by very, very, very immature adult males. But men and adults don't think that way and don't judge you based on those things. You're holding on to maybe stuff in the way you were treated when you were younger. And that is boys. It's not boys will be boys, it's young people. Like, kids are nasty. If you've ever been around kids, they're flipping nasty. Even the nice ones, they're still finding themselves, and they will still choose people based on the most random of things, and they will exclude people and not realize that that's just a really nasty thing, even if they're a good kid. So kids can be mean, even just when they're just incredibly blunt and innocent. Their innocence can be mean. But anyway, when we're growing up, we make mistakes and we hurt people. And if you're still living with some of that hurt, realize that you can just let it go from younger people. Anyway, my point in this is, I want to be a positive influence in some sense, or in every sense. But it's also this idea that I hate the people that ruin social justice issues and people who just get offended for other people. Like, getting offended is such a dumb thing. Just do good. And I just feel like people, I want to be with this positive influence. And so like working hard in school, not, just studying for your tests and, be yourself, be who you are, have creativity, but work hard in whatever you do. Don't try and be cool by not trying. As kids, this happens. There's the fear of failure, and therefore children will try less, because if they try and fail, then it's more of a failure than not trying. Or there's this alternative of the harder I try, the better I will do. And that comes from your upbringing, through life experiences. But I want to be a positive influence of people can look at me and go, you're arrogant because I'm confident, because I'm deemed as successful externally. Whether or not I believe myself to be or not is another, no one gives a crap. They just look at me and go, you must be arrogant because you have got XYZ, or you've done XYZ, or full of yourself, you think you're great. I currently have so much else I would like to achieve in the world. I'm far from feeling successful like I can stop. Why do you think I'm doing this stuff? If people want to make loads of money, I've made more money than I ever need to, right? Cool. I don't feel successful because of that. I don't spend any of it really. People look and you've got this amazing supercar. Oh, you've made it. Oh, you must be arrogant. You must think you're great. No, I've always loved cars, and I could have bought, honestly, 10 of them. But people saying that, it will make them feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel slightly uncomfortable saying it. I also could have bought brand new cars, but I don't. I buy good deals. I'm thrifty. But anyway, people look at me, drives a fast car, likes to work out, is confident, is full of himself. Again, oh, you love yourself. Wouldn't it be great if everyone loved themselves enough to be happy and not worry about what other people think? I don't think I'm better than anyone just because my car goes faster. My car looks cooler to me. It's a personal opinion. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But wouldn't it be cool if cool guys and girls could also care about social justice issues and the bigger issues, and it not be, and I don't know if this is the right word, but I think it is, it'll at least make sense, but like a juxtaposition of two things that can't exist kind of in the same place. That's like a juxtaposition, a dichotomy. Someone who's super clever and good at English will know how a dichotomy and a juxtaposition are different. I think maybe a juxtaposition is like physical things. Anyway, I don't know. It's not an area that I'm very knowledgeable on. There you go. Not another nutrition podcast. We're doing a bit of grammar lessons. I'll clarify those things for you maybe, or you can go look them up if you so wish. But the fact that someone who likes cool cars and someone who is confident and works out and enjoys building my body and getting lean, for me, not for anyone else, but people will see that and judge it. I should do this one. I need a pen and paper in here. I need to do here we go. What I'll do is this. I will do send. I need to do a podcast episode on being judgmental. There you go, little text message, Frankie, pow. For anyone just listening, I'm talking into my watch. Oh, you wear an Apple Watch. More judgment. Anyway, I'm loving doing these podcasts. I don't know when this one will be released, but it's just random musings. I hope that, having me in your ears whilst you're doing some training or going for a walk or whilst you're cooking or having me on a screen somewhere, I just want to stimulate some thought, some discussion. Just before I started recording, I was having a chat with some of my staff as we were setting up some new things and having some new ideas and considering how the audio is. I don't know how the audio sounds for you. Just discussing about how people can feel like voting is pointless. And I'm one of those people. In a lot of ways, voting, no one raindrop ever blamed themselves for causing the flood, but therefore you need to be part of the movement. Yes, but with so much corruption in the world and the way that voting is, it's particularly in America. I think it's probably better in the UK, but maybe I'm naive. But actually, what you can do is, and I've seen some good narrations on this type of thing, but how you can take power away from the government or people that you don't deem to be doing good and just do it in your community. If your community comes together, you can cause so much good and really make a meaningful difference in your community, and then every community can do the same. But this is me having my influence. This is how I want to try and impact the world. It's just like creating some conversations around, there's been a lot of stuff in this episode, podcast, musing. And yeah, it flipping sucks. I suppose it just comes from, I know there are a lot of people who judge me, and I actually read a really cool quote by Mark Fisher from Mark Fisher Fitness. He wrote something about this idea of don't give up about anyone's, I need like a bleeping thing, don't give a beep about other people's opinions. Don't care, you shouldn't care. And he actually he wrote something like, you shouldn't give their opinion too much weight, but not caring at all is probably not a bad idea. He was like, care some about other people's opinions. Sorry, Mark, that I've completely butchered your eloquent words. But the point being is like, caring a little bit is sometimes a good thing. Even people you don't like, caring about their opinion, because maybe they see something about you that you don't, that maybe you should change. Also, whenever I put something on my story about negative comments, people are like, why do you care? You shouldn't care. It's like, you should care about, the general things that hurt my feelings are people that know me well, and maybe they've been a bad person to me. Or maybe they've hurt my feelings because they've made a good judgment about me. As an employer, I'm always trying to learn from people's opinions. I've employed some really rubbishy people with rubbishy opinions. And maybe because of stuff going on in their life, they were a pretty crap person to me when they were here. But other times, there are people who haven't enjoyed Mac Nutrition, and we've made changes as a result. And it's been fantastic because, even though it hurts when you find these things out, you change. So caring about other people's opinions, I find I get all of these people judging me, making nasty comments. Like, I go into my DMs every so often. I don't respond to them. And sometimes I do if I think they're reasonable and it'd be interesting to give an opinion back, or I'm just in one of those moods. But often it's just like these hurtful comments. I'm like, whatever. You kind of have to be that way on social media. I try and teach a lot of our mentees that, you won't please everyone. And that's a good thing if you don't, because if you try to please everyone, you'll please no one. So anyway, I'm going to end this musing there. This has gone on a lot longer than I kind of expected. But for anyone who wants to send this to a young person, you can be cool and still care. Don't be turned off social justice issues because of the people who take it too far. The Karens of this world. And I'm sorry to use the word Karen because there are a few Karens out there who get offended. But a lot of my Karens, my followers are like, I'm a Karen and I'm not offended. I'm a feminist and I'm not offended. Correct. Because you're just a good person. Because you're not someone who just goes out to be offended. Because you understand intent. When people abuse the term nutritionist, I don't go, but not all nutritionists, not all men or not all dietitians. Shut up. Not talking about all of them. We're not making one blanket statement, but dietitians do need to be better. The ones that aren't doing well. The major issue with dietitians is the actual dietetic association that represents you is a major issue, and you're not speaking out against it because you are a chicken. Sorry, but you lack the backbone. I'm not saying you're a bad person. There's things in my life that I should speak out against, and I don't. They are few and far between compared to most people, as you will probably know if you're listening to this, that I don't often pull my punches, but sometimes I do for my own personal reasons. And I'm challenged by that, and you should be challenged about the things in your life. So anyway, social justice. You can be cool, you can be an alpha, you can be whatever. You can make jokes, you cannot take yourself too seriously. You can not stand for people who are just offended. I'm offended. This offends me. You made a joke about women. You made a joke about, any of these things that are now like, it's just not PC to make any joke. But yet people spend their time being offended by them. I made a joke about I'm not a peasant because of something silly, and in the office to my staff. And it's the kind of thing I'd probably, in fact, on my tour, I am very me. So I do make jokes about being a peasant. Like I make a joke like, who here's got an Apple Watch? And like get everyone to put their hands, and I'm like, who just show it to the poor person next to you. Like, it's a joke, and everyone finds it funny. But people get offended by that. Why aren't they getting offended about something important? Like, be offended about the way the world is treating X, Y, Z. But they just want to be offended on the internet and do no good. It's like, just go use your passion, which you clearly maybe have, or you're just annoying. Like, some people are just there to have fights, aren't they? Go and use that arguing to actually change something meaningful in the world. Start a podcast and talk about important issues and make it interesting so people bother listening to you. Cool. I feel like that's everything I want to say. I mean, I feel like there's loads more I want to say, but I'm just now rambling because I like to talk. But yeah, these politicians who have voted to give themselves pay rises, but yeah, this is just something I want. Yeah, I'm just going to talk about this. Politicians who vote to give themselves pay rises whilst people in the NHS, people working on the front lines, particularly I suppose nurses are the ones that often come up in conversation, are being underpaid, and even votes against raising their wages. But MPs are giving themselves pay rises and are also voting against meals for children who very often a school meal is the only chance they will get anything nutritious. And again, that vote coming at the time of coronavirus, the pandemic, where we are seeing so clearly how much of a disparity there are between the rich and the poor. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And I care about those things. There you go. That's how I'm going to finish this up. I care about those things and I do stuff for those things. And I don't talk massively about those things, but anyone who follows me will just see the little things that I care about. And I don't talk about super openly, but I try to give airtime to, because very often lots of these charities, what they need, sometimes more than a small donation, is just awareness. Rather than giving £10, if you did a post on your social media to raise awareness, it would let people know. That's where I've heard about some of the charities that I now really care about and donate to have come from, is through someone else just raising my awareness of them and me realizing, geez, blood cancer, DKMS, who we have committed to supporting year on year. The key factor there is just getting more people not even willing to save someone else's life, but they just need a swab to know if you could help by donating some stem cells. And it's a super easy process even. People talk about, oh, it'd be amazing if we had a cure for cancer. We kind of do in this one small instance. Yeah, so this episode is sponsored by DKMS, blood cancer charity. Go and get a swab. They'll just post it to you. You do the swab, and then all they will know is if someone is able to be cured, if they think it's a genetic match, which is a very few and far between, which is why it just is a numbers game. Get as many people swabbed in the UK as possible. And you literally can save someone's life. I talk about self-esteem, self-worth, all these kind of things. Like, imagine the difference you could make in the world by just doing that. Right? I don't know. This is being recorded before the times of me ever actually posting stuff massively publicly. So I don't know how you're going to interact with me. But if you did enjoy this or want to talk about it, go and find me somewhere. Like if you're listening to this on the likes of iTunes or Spotify, you can't really talk to me. I imagine you'd be able to leave a review, but probably even not by episode. But if you did think this was good and you want more people to hear about it, do something good, i.e. leave a review and a rating, and more people are likely to hear this. But then hop on to my Instagram or my YouTube and anywhere else that I'm going to post these things, Facebook, and leave a comment. Encourage people, share it. But also tell me, I'd really love to know if this challenged you. I'd really love to know if what it made you think or what you think about it.